Good evening, everyone. Somebody please let me know if for some reason this isn't working. Welcome to the stream tonight. You'll notice that it's an odd stream because it's just me. Normally, I've got a crew of other players with me, but tonight, some of them I think are going to be checking in the chat, so you guys can sound off if you're in the chat with me tonight. But we're on our summer hiatus because a couple of us are taking vacations throughout the month of July, and we're not going to be here certain times. So we're taking a little hiatus from the Sea of Souls campaign, our Dungeons and Dragons live game, and we're going to do a couple of other things. In a few weeks, next week we're doing, I don't remember what it's called. Let me just check our Discord real quick. Where's my mouse? There we go. So we're going to be playing a game, I think that's called Super Normal. I don't know that we've nailed that down yet, but that's what's been proposed. So look forward to that. It's a really interesting concept for a tabletop RPG, so I'm looking forward to that. I know that we've got something else planned on the last week of July, maybe even the week that I'm gone. I don't know. We'll update you guys as things are going. But tonight, as a few of the guys are away or busy, I figured I would take a chance to update one of the characters for our stream. I've already updated one of them, Flick, which I probably should show you. Just because, who doesn't want to see the new artwork and all of that. Tonight, though, we are going to be working on everybody's favorite bardic druid or druidic bard. I don't know how he wants to be referenced. But we're going to be redrawing Taylind tonight. Getting as far as we can in a couple of hours of streaming online. I don't want to bore everybody too much with, my creative process, but figured maybe some of you would like a little behind-the-scenes sneak peek. There we go. Okay, I can see a couple of you guys are in. That's good. Glad that you can hear me. I probably should have checked that sooner than I did to make sure that you could. Otherwise, you guys have been looking at me rambling for a little while without hearing anything. But you have, thankfully. That's good. So as you guys can see on here, I just have our little Sea of Souls ad. But I do have a bunch of images that I wanted to show everybody. Figured I'd give a teeny little bit of history as to how I came about doing the artwork for this campaign, which actually kind of got my foot in the door for joining these guys to play. See, I know Craig, our DM in real life. I don't know the other guys in real life yet, unless you count Zoom. But this all started out when they were doing a different thing, and I said, hey, why don't I draw the characters for you guys? But my courage to do that started when Craig created a new race of sentient red pandas, which we haven't seen in the Sea of Souls yet, and I hope that Craig doesn't mind me mentioning them. If you do, Craig, I'm sorry, it's too late. Cat's out of the bag. I'm going to show people what I drew. That initial character idea for a playable race is what inspired me to create this. This was my very first dabble into digital art and into character creation. I just loved the idea of this red panda character. I think red pandas are awesome. They're derpy and hilarious. And so I just decided, you know what, I'm going to try my hand at drawing a D&D character. Why not? And this is what I came up with. Now, this is actually the recolored version. I have an original. I didn't pull it up, but that's the redraw. That was my very first character, and out of that, I created a whole bunch of other characters for a different campaign that I was in. And then when I heard that Craig and his buddies were doing a D&D game that was possibly going to be streamed, I said, hey, I kind of know how to do character art. How about I help you out with that? So that's kind of how I got my foot in the door with those guys, and then somewhere down the line, Craig invited me into the group, and the rest is history. So this was the very first one that I made. It's a little red panda ranger. Her name was Bira. It's a character that I played. And then out of that, we got the original Flick. And I say original because I have actually already redrawn Flick. So if you give me a moment, I'll show you that. But this was the original of Flick. Got to kind of pick the brains of the guys and see what they wanted out of their characters. And this is what kind of spawned from it. Very happy with that. You might also notice, if you are a keen observer, that Flick here doesn't have a black outline like a cartoon character. Originally, I drew all of these guys' characters without, as realistic as possible. Took me hours and hours and hours. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. But then I tried to draw my character, and for some reason, the wheels just were not turning. The brain was not working when I tried to, and so I actually went back and I added lines to the original characters because I just could not, for some reason, draw my Dragonborn character realistically. I don't know. That's why I say I'm a hobby artist. I don't do this for a living. I do this for fun. Um, it's something that I get to do to express a little creativity. But that's Flick. We've got Torque over here. This one does actually have the outline. I don't know that I have the original anymore. I've had some computer issues, but that's Torque's draw. The original one there, I'll be redrawing him at a later date. And then this was my character, Dinar. And you can see I tried. Oh, did I actually even change some of the colors? What happened here? I don't know what happened here, but this is my character. And this, for some reason, when I was trying to do this as realistically as possible, I just couldn't do it without the outline. So I went back and I think I had to really ink the lines. But then I realized the discrepancy between my character and the three others. I had to go back and add lines to the other ones. So, anyways, all that aside, tonight we are working on redrawing Taylind. Now, in 2 hours, 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours, I am not going to be able to finish a whole character. This whole process will take me days. Again, I'm a hobby artist. I just do this for fun. So I don't have this real streamlined process, but I enjoy doing it. But I figured we could get started. I have some information from Devin about what he'd like to see in his character. We can see the original character over here on the right, and the concept, the pose concept that Devin was hoping to get for his new character. And the reason why I'm redrawing the characters, one, is I felt like we needed a little bit of a facelift. Not a facelift, but like a refresher. We need something fresh. We've all seen my original art from, I think it was like 2 years ago now. It's time for something new. And I thought, you know what, our characters have changed. Dinar wears a tricorn hat now. I still don't know how I'm going to redraw Dinar. Dinar's very hard to draw. But, you know, the characters have changed, and it was time for a little bit of an update. So that's what we're doing. That's why I'm redrawing the guys. I would love to hear chat's thoughts on what pose would you like to see Torque in. I know that there was one instance. Yes, art is hard, Craig. Art isn't hard, obviously. It's very hard. But I would love to hear from the chat. What pose would you like to see Torque in? You know, we have the pose of him standing there with his spear, but he doesn't really use that spear. He uses his maul, his big maul, on his back. He uses this thing, not this thing. And in fact, I don't even know that he has that spear anymore. I think he's got a trident aside from the maul. And he's got a new patron that he's serving. So what pose would you guys like to see him doing in the new redraw? I'll show you guys what I've done for Flick. Flick is similar, but different. Let's see here. Oh, that's Taylind. Flick, there we go. So Flick, this is Flick. Might take a moment to load. There it is. So my inspiration for this, or the inspiration that Ian gave me was, oh, where is it? There's a picture of Indiana Jones. He's like, he wants the Indy pose, where there it is there, but I've like turned it. Oh, I've done weird things with this to make it work for me. Let me modify this. So he wanted some kind of pose here where he's holding his whip out to the side. Which is a great pose. My computer is chugging. It is not happy. All right, there we go. So something like that. And I started with a pose that was very similar to that, but I found that in order to get everything where it was supposed to be, where his shield would have been here and then his whip would have been in his backhand, you just didn't get to see any of Flick. Like, I want to show off he had new Mariner's armor. You know, Flick has changed since session 1. I wanted to show off a little bit more of the changes for Flick. Like, for instance, did anybody notice he's wearing boots? Like, Flick is becoming civilized. It's quite an upgrade for Flick. So we decided we wanted to go something similar. So it's a similar pose, but it's like as if the camera was on beside Indiana Jones instead of dead on. So that's what we went with. You can see his Axiom shield there with the way that Ian described it to me was he wanted it to look like the bubble, like a soapy bubble or something. And so we wanted this kind of coloring on the shield. This was a very hard effect to try to capture. Thankfully, he was quite pleased with how it is. Yes, I see a chat. Yes, Trillium. Paige is there. That was one of his big requests. He said he wants Paige to be present. And thankfully, I drew this a couple of episodes after Paige made her first appearance. So I was able to capture that in there. Real nice. It's not very visible, but you can see that Flick has his giant, his big spell book over here, which we'll get to see more of as now that Flick is more of a. Actually, I think he's multi-classed into wizard now, I believe. So, be interesting to see how he gets to use that book a little bit more. Interesting to see if Dinar tries to get a peek inside of Flick's little book there. But yeah, so that's Flick. We're not going to save the changes there. That's fine. We're not going to save the changes there either. We're instead going to get onto Taylind. So drawing people is hard because we all know what human beings look like. And so to draw a human, it has to be believable. And that's always tricky. When I drew the red panda, nobody knows what a upright sentient red panda would look like. I did find a couple of interesting like sketches and stuff of people drawing a panda, just a red panda standing upright. Like, no, it's got to look like a humanoid, but just as a red panda. So there's no frame of reference, so it was a lot easier to come up with a pose and come up with what it should look like because I got to create that in my own brain. For Tayland's a human. We all know what humans look like, and so Taylind can be troublesome, which is why I like to use references. Is why I like to use essentially. You know how sometimes artists will have one of those like those wooden doll figures that they can pose and then they can draw from that. I have found a digital resource that lets me do that. So we're going to flip over to there real quick. The pose that we're going to be doing for Taylind is this pose here on the left, where he's got one hand up in the air, one hand down low, and we've determined that the rapier is going to be in his right hand, so that's going to be the hand up in the air, and then his new fancy pistol is going to be in his left hand. We're also going to be getting a glimpse of Willy Redtail in the new pose. So I have a description of that, which is quite interesting. I don't know that I ever picked it up playing the game, but I'm glad that Devin described it to me, so now I get a real clear picture of what Willy Redtail is. But anyways, back to Taylind. I feel like I've said that many times tonight, but we're going to go to it. So I've got this program called Design Doll, and you start out with just a little anime-looking character like this, but we're going to adjust this so that it looks like the pose that's over here. So obviously we've got to start with, well, we've got to start by making this look, first of all, a little bit beefier. How do I do this again? We go to here. There we go. So we're going to beef up the shoulders a little bit because we want him to look, as much as Taylind is not exactly a meaty guy, he does need a little bit more muscle structure. There we go. We'll give him a little bit bigger legs. That's good there. And get those hands up going a little bit. And then he's not got a huge head. You can see him here. He's got kind of that, the 1998 Eric Carter Backstreet Boys look going. It was not intentional, but every time I look at it now, that's all that I see. Sorry, Devin. I hope you're okay with that. But that's what I see whenever I see him. So let's keep meeting him up just a little bit. Spread out his shoulders, and then I've got these fun tools that we can come in and we can actually change, like give him some muscle structure. He's got upper body. Let's see. He's not too beefy. He is just a straggly little bard. But this is just going to be what's underneath the rest of our structure. So you just want him to look like an adventuring man, basically, because that's what he is. Fiddle in here. And we won't see any of this underside. This is just so that I have all the reference that I need. The head is always the hardest part because right now he looks like an anime character. And we don't want him to look like an anime character forever. We want him to look like a realistic-ish human being. So we're going to change this up a little bit. Let's see. Kind of that. Yep. Give him a little bit of that. That's a little bit better. You can go real strange with this program. We can make him look like a skeleton. We can give him flat face. Oh, that didn't really do much. We can make his head all round and stuff. Yeah, some funny things in here. You can really play around with the sliders and spend all day, but we're not going to do that. So we've got a decent looking humanoid. Maybe the head's a little tall. Devin says, tell me why. That's right, tell me why. Ain't nothing but a heartache. It's been too long. Gotta go back and watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I guess. Okay. All right, so this is the pose that we're after here. So this guy looking like this. So let's start manipulating his hands. So his hand's gonna come up here. I'll rotate that back around. Gonna be over top of his head. And these 3D programs can sometimes be a little bit on the tricky side because they don't always want to play nice. So he's got to be kind of shoulders angled. Let's see how much of that I can get in here. This is going to be, so we're going to twist that just a little bit. Can I angle it down? I suppose I can a little bit. We can do that. He's kind of twisted too. So he's hands up, hips are facing forward, chest is facing more to the side. The chest is over here. Oh, hips are kind of doing one of these. And then we have to kind of imagine what his legs are doing. So I think the way that this pose will make sense is if he's got one leg that's in front of the other. So I'm going to do this. Bring these legs out. I'm going to look like a pole dancer for a second. Give me a minute. So he's like, yeah, he's got his rapier up in the air, the gun down here. So let's get the gun down here a little bit more. Rotate that down. There we go. Yeah. We can angle the hand right here. Make it work for the pose we're looking at. So hands, left hand is out to the side. It's true, Craig. You could get lost in this program for hours. The worst part about this program is that I'm cheap. So I haven't purchased the program, which means that I actually can't save anything that I do. Sorry, I can save it. I can't open anything. If you try to open up anything, it just says you need to activate the program. So what I have to do is I have to take screenshots, bring them over to my art program, Krita, and then trace or copy from there. But I can't save it. So once I make it, if I for some reason need to come back to it, I have to remake it. It's annoying. It's maybe something I should invest in. I'll be working on. I'll look at that maybe sometime. All right, so this is starting to look pretty good. Let's see. So that arm could maybe just be a little bit more straight, but twist it back. So okay, and then we can close the fist around something up there, and then this hand down here. The legs don't look right. It needs to be a little bit more spread out. That looks better to me. Oh, Trillium, that one hurts. Doesn't Hero Forge let you say? Doesn't Hero Forge let you save a certain number of characters though? Is it that you ran out of characters and they wouldn't let you make any more, or they wouldn't let you save anymore? Alrighty, so this is the hand that's up in the air. Yeah, well, his rotator cuff is whatever we want it to be. Yeah, that's just a frame. That's just a frame. He's gonna be clothed. We're not gonna see how much that hurts him. All right, so here, once we go into here, we can actually, I don't know how much you guys can see of this. You can only really see the one hand. But you can actually come in and we can change the finger pose so that it looks like his hand is closed around something. So let's do a little bit like this. And again, I don't have to be super precise with this because this is just setting up a framework for me to get a pose, essentially. Let's fold it in like that. So we need those hands to be in a little bit more. That's better. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now we can come over here to the left hand. So this one, I guess it's going to be behind a gun. So it doesn't really need to be super accurate. Although his fingers will be shown wrapped around the handle of the gun, so it should be somewhat. We're going to open up that thumb a little bit. We're going to just get that pointer finger in there. That's good. That's a good pose. Yep. Okay. And let's bring that in just a little bit. And we have space for the gun to go. We kind of do. But if I do a little bit opening up like that. Okay. How are we looking? That's not bad. That's not bad. Okay. So I wish I could do more tilting here. I'm not sure if I have that ability. I can make them bigger this way. Let's make the hands a little bit larger. That affects both. That's right. If we can't see how much it hurts him, then does it really hurt him? Probably not. All right. Chat, what do you think? How are we doing here? The shoulders a little bit turned that way. That arm is back behind him. Yeah, that looks good. All right. That looks good to me. Such a poser. This guy is such a poser. Now, it's what angle do we want our screenshot at? Change the rotation of this just a little bit. Let's do that just a hair. So then his rapier can come out straight like this. If his hand's angled at all, then it's kind of going back. I don't want to have to draw it like that. The gun as well, I think I should try to make this a little bit more flat so that we can really get a good profile of it, because I got some ideas with Taylind's new, what is it, briny pistol. I mean, this thing should look really cool, right? It's a special magical pistol. It should look the part. So I want to make sure we can see lots of it. So I gotta get that in there. Okay. I am pretty happy with how this is looking. Now it's just a matter of where do we take. I feel like the gun would be pointed down, maybe if not being fired. That's true. The gun could be pointed more down. Maybe we extend that arm out just a little bit. Because then it's more like the axe picture over here, or the picture, the left hand's got the axe on. So something like that. We can still see the pistol, but it's not being pointed up in any way. So now it's being pointed down. Let me get that thumb on this hand out. Can I get that thumb out of the way anymore? I think that's good. Yes, I want to see lots of the briny pistol. SEAC. All right, I like that. So we're going to go print screen, capture a screenshot of that. We're going to bring this over to Krita now. So let's create a new file from clipboard. Create all of my screens there showing up. All right, copy that. Bring it over to here. Notice it's very small in comparison. I have created a very large image so that we get a nice big resolution for our redraw here. Okay. So that is our pose. I think it needs to be a little bit on the shorter side because we do have to fit in the rapier and his boots and all of that. So let's just shorten him up just a smidge. Right there's pretty good. Okay. Looks good. All right. So now comes the process of starting to really to sketch. Back when I wanted to become a starving artist, I thought growing up, I'm going to be an animator. I'm going to work for Disney or one of those companies. So I got real obsessed with doing initial sketches in blue because all the fancy artists did sketches in blue. So that stays true to today. So what we do is I got this layer here. I'm going to drop the opacity so that I can see through it a little bit. Create a new layer. We're going to come in here and we're going to start sketching. I'm going to throw on a sketchy pencil. And we're going to drop the size on that just a smidge. Zoom in. Now, I hope you guys don't mind that I cheat a little bit. I'm going to trace the pose. Now, this is just going to be the body that's underneath, and I'm going to draw the clothes on top of it. But I do trace things, so hope that's okay with everybody. If not, too bad. All right, so I do usually like to, even though I've got the full frame here, I do like to kind of picture, where are all of the joints and the sockets and all of that stuff. So we've got a neck there, we've got his arm, elbow. Oh, that's a terrible line. Here's the one thing that really sucks about digital art. It's all made for right-handed people. I'm a lefty. So normally on a drawing tablet, you've got buttons that you can click and have like undo and copy and paste and all that. Well, those buttons are underneath my left hand. And I can't flip it around because the cable only comes out in a certain way. So I have to make do. But yes. So if I seem slower on the undo than everybody else, maybe that does art, I am. And that's why. So we come up here. There's an elbow. There's another wrist. There's a hand. There's a big old noggin. His head looks like maybe a little too tall, so maybe we make him a little bit shorter. Hip bones in here. He's kind of twisted, isn't he? Which is what we wanted. That should be bigger. Go into there. Knee. Knee. Leg. Foot. All right. So now I've got a little framework, a little wire frame here. Devin, you could be the good judge of this. Is that tall enough? Does he look tall enough for you? I wonder if maybe I need to lengthen him out a little bit so that he's a bit taller. He seems perhaps a bit short. I know the pose is going to be long. It's going to be quite tall. But does the character himself, and it's really just the wireframe. That looks short to me. Does that look short to anybody else? I can extend him. Maybe I need to extend him just a little bit. Maybe just a smidge taller. I agree. Um, yeah. How are we looking there? Is that where he's falling short? Maybe a little bit. How's that looking, guys? So I've increased his height a little bit. Uh, for the stream, his hand is cut off, but not. It's not actually. Let me just bring that over. Oh, take off the little wires there. Bring that over, just so we can see a comparison side by side. Let me just make it the same. I'll just make these the same dimensions. Line up his feet. There's his feet. How does that look in comparison? If you're looking straight for a side by side, there's a side by side. Does that look better? I think that looks better. I'm an angel. Thank you, Trillium. I appreciate that. I don't consider myself to be one, but I appreciate that. All right, we're gonna go with that one. We're just gonna delete that that frame there. All right. So I'm not gonna. Oh, let's do that and then that. So I'm not gonna bother with the wireframe this time. We're just gonna go straight into the sketching because we've already seen that. It's already 9:30. We want to see Taylind come to life a little bit here. I just want to take a look here at the chat. We've got a few folks in here. Adept, Cindy, Don, my golden son. That is Devin, Eric, Fun Bar, and then Trillium Gal. Glad you guys are all joining us tonight. Let us know that you're here. You know what? I'll even say this. I've been trying to push it on chat for the last couple of weeks. I've been watching some other D&D podcasts, and they do something similar. Do you have any questions for? I guess because I'm the only one here. Do you have any questions for me about Dinar, about the character, or about some of his backstory? Any questions maybe that you've been thinking about or wondering about? Maybe you missed the first couple of episodes, or you've missed the description of Dinar. Do you have any questions about my character, about what he's like, about why he is the way that he is? Feel free to post them there. Pundy is Craig. He's the DM. That's actually the name of his Twitter handle is PunDMC. You can get game updates and stuff like that from him there. All right, so we're gonna get into kind of rough sketching out here the body. Again, human anatomy is always so tricky. Thankfully, Taylind wears long sleeves, so we really just have to draw sleeves. I like to get started with just a rough sketch of the outline of the character, and then I start to put clothes over top of it pretty quick, actually. I like to do this, and I'll get like 3-4 layers going. I'll get a rough sketch, and then I'll duplicate the layer, and then I'll modify it even more from there, and then we'll keep going. Once I've got a good rough sketch down, I'll usually switch colors, and I'll go to a red, and I'll start to make a more refined sketch. So that's where I'll add in major details that will eventually turn into proper inked line art. Things like belt buckles and smaller details on the clothing and stuff like that. Well, Willie will be making an appearance, don't worry. Willie Redtail, his familiar. Get your heads out of the gutter. So those are going to be boots, so the shape of them is not super important. And he wears full-length pants, so that's okay. Just get a rough idea of the knees. Ooh, that's a good question. I see some good chats coming in here. All right, so let me just take a pause here for a second. So who's that Bundy guy? Obviously, I've learned now that Trillium already knows that. Good. I've been playing a wizard, and I was joking, I've heard of that guy. Oh, I see. I've been using you as one of the sources I'm learning more about playing wizards from. Wow, that is, I'll say dangerous, Trillium. I have been playing D&D since I was in high school. I've never played a wizard until I started playing Dinar. Um, I hope it doesn't show too much, but there's a few times where I'm asking questions because wizards are, I find them fascinating. I find Dinars really fun to play. I like the game mechanics that go along with it, but still a bit of a noob myself. But I'm glad that however I'm playing him is helpful for you. Hopefully, it's helpful for you. um, but that's really cool. So your question is, what's a spell you took but initially felt? What's a spell you took but initially felt kind of lukewarm on that you ended up being really glad you took in the end? I gotta say, that's a tough one because I have a lot of spells that I was like, I don't know that I had any spells that I was lukewarm on. I had spells that I was red hot on that I've never used. um, if we ever hear more of Dinar's stories, it'll make sense why I took some of the spells that I took. Um, but we really need Taylind to sit down and force Dinar to tell more stories. Uh, but a spell that I felt lukewarm taking, I'd have to go back and take a look at what Dinar initially had. Uh, I know that like so the way that I built Dinar is I wanted him to be a utility wizard. I wanted him to support the crew, which again is part of Dinar's backstory that he was working on a naval ship and he wasn't the max DPS guy. He was the support your fellow shipmates in battle as best you can. So that's why Dinar is big on things like big pun, big on things like enlarge or reduce. He's using those things to try to bolster his crew so that they can fight better. Um, that's why. That's why Dinar, from like the very first spell that I took, was called Absorb Elements. Have not used it. We're what 42 episodes in. I've not used that spell because there hasn't been a chance to use it really, or I am too dumb to realize when I could use it. It is a spell that I've never taken off of the rotation for Dinar. It's always been an active spell, um, which is what almost makes it sting even more every time Talon's like, well, do you have this prepared? Do you have this prepared? Do you have this prepared? And Dinar's like, no, I have the spells that I wanted to use from day one that I still haven't used yet. Um, so what am I lukewarm on? I'll say that I, it's not even a real answer to your question because I don't know that I have a lukewarm one that became uh real real glad that I took in the end. But initially Dinar didn't have magic missile. And that is because when I was playing with these guys for the first time, we were playing kind of well, we were playing with Jack. While we were waiting to start Sea of Souls, we were playing a game with Jack. And I was playing a wild magic sorcerer, and like his whole shtick was magic missile, magic missile, magic missile. And so when I started playing Dinar as a wizard, I was like, I don't want to take magic missile. Like that's the classic, the wizard thing, magic missile. And I was like, nah, Dinar's not going to take that. Very quickly learned the usefulness of magic missile, and decided to pick it up as a spell scroll that I think that was in the Port of Sands. Um, and now Dinar uses it so frequently because, of course, you don't have to roll anything. They can't dodge it. It just hits, and it's one of those spells that you have to have in your arsenal as somebody supposed to be dealing damage. You have to have that spell because It cannot be beat. The only downside to it is the D4 rolls. And there's multiple D4s, but you're limited in how much damage you can do. So I'll say that. I know I didn't take it initially, but I didn't want it initially. And I ended up having to take it because you just have to. Sometimes you just have to hit, no matter what. And if the rolls aren't working for you, you throw a magic missile. That sucker hits every single time. Unless they're wizards and they have shield, and then that sucks. Yes, it can be beat by shield. That hasn't happened yet, though. And I feel like from now on, every time Dinar uses it, it's going to be shielded. We'll see. We'll see. All right, let's get back to the drawing. But if you guys do have any more questions, feel free to ask, and I will keep glancing over here to see if there's any new questions from you guys at the chat. So the first couple of things that we're going to add in, Taylind has long hair, and Devin has been very specific on making sure that I add his teal streak that he has in his hair. I don't know if that's new. Truthfully, I don't know if that's new, or if I just forgot to add it in his original. I'm not sure. But that's okay. We're gonna add it in now. Maybe Devin, you can let me know if it's just something I totally overlooked the first time around. But we're gonna keep his appearance is gonna be relatively similar. So the one thing that's changing is that Taylind does now have a chain shirt. So you know what? I'm just gonna keep asking chat. He said it could go under his white shirt or it could go over his white shirt. Chat, what would you like to see? Would you like to see Taylind's chain shirt be on top of the white pirate shirt? Or should I open it up maybe a little bit so he's got the top like few buttons undone and we can see the chain shirt underneath? Maybe obscured a little bit by his scarf. What do you guys think? What's going to be the best look for Taylind here? So this is probably going to, those ruffles are going to kind of flop down here just a little bit. We're going to get to see a bit of his exposed wrist because his hand's up in the air. And this is going to come down. Oh, I should make a copy of this layer. There we go. And I suppose at this point I can remove that background layer. So now we've just got this. Now, Taylind wears a big belt. All 3A. Newer than your. How much do I like drawing chain? Well, thankfully, Craig, it's a chain shirt. Oh, that's a good point, though. I think the only way that this is going to make sense, because if my interpretation of a chain shirt is that it's a shirt, maybe a t-shirt, but it's a shirt. It's not like a wife beater where it's just some strips here. It would be a full shirt. So it would make sense if that was under his pirate shirt. Otherwise, his pirate shirt's kind of billowy. So if we put the chain shirt on top of that, it would be like everything would be bunching up underneath the chain shirt. So it makes more sense to be under. So then I think what we need to do is maybe we need to open up his vest a little bit and open up his shirt a little bit more so we can see the chain shirt underneath. That probably is what's going to be making the most sense for this drawing here. So I'm just going to copy a couple of pieces from this. This really shouldn't be down here. This kind of needs to open up a little bit here. Let's stream that down there. And how do I have this over here? So his his left side is on top of his right side. Did I draw that backwards? How do men's shirts work again? The left is over top of the right. No, I drew it right. That's wrong. All right, so the vest is going to be open here a little bit. Let's do something like that. And that is full vest out to the shoulder there. And kind of rumple that in there. Yep. Okay. Look it up, Mr. Referencer. Well, I don't know. I don't know what chain shirts look like in Eudora. Although I suppose I've done a lot of the artwork for Eudora, so maybe I do know. His belt's kind of above his waist there. So we're going to go belt up here again. And then the vest is going to come down and go past it like this. You guys might be sitting there thinking like, man, Mike, that really sucks. How is that going to turn into that? a lot of refinement. It takes time. Come down and let's get a deep V underneath that arm there. That vest comes down. That's going to kind of stick out. And I mean, it does kind of look like it's maybe a leather vest, so it bunches up a little bit, but leather is pretty rigid. Although you do get a lot of folds in leather. Okay, so that piece is in the center of his body. I think that this needs to come over more. The center of his body, his chest is coming down here, but then his hips kind of turn back. So he's kind of got one of these going on. Or yeah, he's got one of these going on. So chest, and then kind of rotates around. So chest is centered out here, and then it kind of rotates back. So this needs to come past just a little bit. And then we'll do like that. Would be. It doesn't matter if it chafes because we can't see the chafing. That's the real reason why Taylind stays drunk all the time. He's got chainmail up against his chest, which is just chafing and ripping apart his skin, ripping out his chest hairs. Oh man. This makes so much more sense now. This is why he's drunk all the time. All right, let's clean up some of these lines here. Just getting rough ideas of just kind of blocking out roughly where everything's going to go. So this collarbone there is kind of, that's coming down. So the center of his collarbone is there. Chest is coming down to about there. So I think his shirt, it makes sense his shirt is going to be kind of open and kind of hugging the vest a little bit. Maybe there's only, maybe it's like, you guys know that movie Galaxy Quest? Where every time you see, is it Sigourney Weaver's character, her top is more undone because reasons. That's Taylind. Just as the drunker he gets, the more loose his shirts get, and so we can see more of that chainmail that's underneath. So chainmail is probably, it probably makes sense that the chainmail is not super, like it shouldn't be up to here like this, right? That wouldn't make sense if it was too high. Oh. But it also should be protective. Don't want it to be right up on his neck. Maybe something loose around the collarbone. We also get to kind of interpret ourselves. Maybe it just follows the shape of the collarbone. Let's have it come a little bit wider here. So there's the shirt. And there we go. Okay, so chain shirt is there. And then how would his collared shirt bunch up? I can't get a picture of myself, unfortunately. It would really get bunched up. So it's kind of coming in here. Getting tucked underneath the vest maybe a little bit. And then it's coming down. Yeah, there we go. And now maybe we get just the glimpse of a button right there. Another little button right there. All right. Should the belt be bigger? I think the belt needs to be bigger. It's a little bit bigger in the initial drawing, I believe. And Devin, as you're watching, if you think of more details that you want to change out or you want to add, you can Discord me, although I'm not going to hear it. Or feel free to put it in the chat, and I can make those additions on the fly. If anybody else has any ideas, I'm open. Willie shall, by Grabath's hammer, Willie shall be avenged. How many times would Devin had to have said that, or would Taylind, sorry, had to have said that based on how many times Willie's already perished? I think quite a few. You see, that needs to come more across because that's like almost on the right side of his body. So let's bring this over even further. Like it's all the way over to here. Because then that belt buckle in the middle, that thing's like right there. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. And that's really going to ride up on that leg that's up. It's all a sham. It's just a chain shirt dickie. Yeah. Uncle Eddie. Uncle Eddie would be proud to wear this chain shirt dickie. Eddie? Okay, so starting to come along here. And then I'd given Taylind this. Oh yeah, he's got a pauldron. That's right. Okay, all right. So let's get that now. It's kind of angled back, so we're going to be seeing the underside of that pauldron just a little bit. But that is going to come down. I mean, if the strap comes, so the circle thing is kind of there-ish. Strap is going. Oh yeah, and there's lapels on this vest too. Yeah, those lapels are going to get real bunched up. Then they kind of get exposed a little bit here, but they are going to be real bunched. Okay, so yeah. That's the shirt. That's going to be there. So this is going to be, what's the shape of these lapels? Oh yeah, they're different than I was thinking. Okay, so we got to redo that. So that comes up, and then it kind of just. Yeah, all right. Okay, so pinches down, and then just kind of comes out, doesn't it? It's just like this. It's getting real bunched up here by the armpit. So then the other side, it's going to come down. Like that. How far down does that go? That goes right down to there. Okay. Because that's on the far side of his body. We don't want that to be too thick. And then that's going to be over top of that little circle thing there. So the circle is going to be, because it's a bit of an angle, it's going to be a bit of an oval. Like this, something like that. Yeah, that's going to be, it's going to kind of disappear into there. So that's got to rotate down. I might need to move a little bit. So let's get our tool here and move this over just a smidge. Okay, that looks better. So then that's going something like that. And as the pauldron comes down, we'll make it come down a little bit farther. Farther. Okay. Hmm. Bunching material is always tricky. Always tricky to try to draw. Not so pointy. Looking okay. That needs to be bigger. So let's just do that. Circle needs a little bit more size. So we're just going to make them bigger. That looks better to me. I also feel like that lapel needs to be bigger. Yeah, I think it does. So this is going to come down, and it's going to, as it flattens out, it's going to get wider. Then as it goes up into his shoulder, it's going to kind of get up on edge. We're going to see the edge of it, which is why it's going to be like that. But then this should probably be, yeah, that should be bigger. That should come out to like there, and should overlap that little circle thing there. That's better. Important that you don't make lines line up with each other. Just for composition's sake, it doesn't look as good. That should come past that, and then there should be a little, yeah, that's better. Okay, so that's the shirt. That's the vest. And there's another little line that comes up from that. Maybe this comes out just a bit more. And there's a line up from there. Okay, and then this is a chain shirt, which will take forever. That's all right. This isn't supposed to be a fast process. This is supposed to be character. Okay, so upper body is getting there. There's that strap that comes down from that. We're going to make that high just a little bit. And it's actually going to come across there. So it's going to be underneath the lapel, and then it's going to finally come out this side. It kind of disappears into the belt, doesn't it? Yeah. Let's make it just a little bit thicker. Not bad, not bad. And then I got this little piece that comes off. I'm trying to remember what my motivation for that was. I think just like to brace it down around his body. So I think this just needs to read a little bit thicker too. And that's going to come down here and just kind of wrap around his waist. Nice thick leather strap. Well, let's bunch this up a little bit. I know it's leather vest of sorts, but need a little bit more definition out here. It's looking good. We're going to cut this out to the side just a little bit. That would probably be stretched. But then as it gets down here, it starts to bunch up just a little bit. There we go. Okay. I know that I drew these little things as chainmail, but my brain right now just sees a poorly drawn chest hair. That's chainmail there. That's chainmail. All right, so one other detail that we need to make sure we add in is Taylon's got this little scarf thing that kind of protects his neck, his lower neck. So that probably still comes in. But I guess it's going to be a little bit looser. I see the chat is a little bit behind. I'm seeing it a little bit behind what they're talking about. So yes, I did just catch up to the chest hair thing. All right, so center of his chest is right here. So that little poofy thing should probably be, I mean, what is this thing? This is like a scarf that he had tucked into his shirt when it's done up. But if his shirt's opened up, what does that look like underneath? It's probably, it's like a silk scarf, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Devin. Is it like a silk scarf that he's got wrapped around his neck? So it'd be thin, light material that he would tie up and kind of poof out, and then it would just kind of terminate down his chest. Would it be like a frayed end? Would it be like a finely stitched, like a hard edge? Would it be a frayed edge? Would it be tasseled? I feel like Taylon's would be tasseled, but what do I know? Let me know. Let's get this layer back on. See if I can get a little bit of definition here. Okay, so his neck is actually not as wide as I've made it. His neck is actually coming down like this. That's musculature back there. So there's the neck. Neck is on this side, that's fine. That's coming over there. This angle needs to change just a little bit. So if that's the collar over on this side, that's going to come down and then out like that. That's how that's going to go. Good. So roughly like that. Something like that for those veins in your neck, or that would be kind of there. That doesn't look right. Collarbone's there. So these lines usually go straight up from your neck up to your chin. So this one works. This one, it'd probably be something like that because his body's kind of turned. He's turned into it. So this one would be like, well, this one should be straight down. But then his collarbone, maybe I turned his chest too much. Oh well, figure that out later. All right, so let's keep working on the upper body here. So he's got his poofy shirt. I'm gonna rough sketch this in. That shirt would be, so it's kind of come away from his wrist. Those things normally come down to like here on him. Be a little bit further back. And it's just a ruffly shirt. So this thing's kind of like poofing out. Even though he's got his arm fully extended, that thing is still probably quite ruffly. A paranoid moment that I was maybe drawing on the wrong layer. Thankfully, I'm not. So let's take away this. And yeah, it's probably something like this. Erase some of these extra lines from where his arm would be underneath that shirt. We don't need that necessarily. It's probably going to be right out of there. That maybe needs to be a little bit more taut. We'll get there. We'll get there. So this one's going to have full ruffles. This arm is just down. Trace the arm lines underneath. Uh, so let's get the symbol in here before we get too far so I don't forget what it looks like. Like a half moon with then 2 hashes. Let's make that a little bit more like that. That's good. Hash, hash. And then it's like, boom. Something like that. So that's his rapier. Now, when I originally drew this, I was like, I gotta do something really ornate. Now I've got to redraw that up here. Oh well. Okay, so his rapier is going to be something like, it's not a huge weapon, rapiers. Let me just Google rapier real quick before I start drawing the wrong weapon. Yeah, I was going to draw the wrong weapon. I was going to draw a scythe, not a scythe, a scimitar. So a rapier is a very thin-bladed sword. Like, think fencing sword, but not as flimsy. Maybe not quite that long, but they've got those big shield guards out in front. And Taylind, of course, has a really fancy one because Taylind is a fancy boy. It's kind of got these like hook things that come down. Go to like points. I should maybe figure out how that's supposed to look in the hand. That's probably, those should be coming straight out at us. So from here, we would see it go down. And we would see the little points come out, right? Because then that big metal piece is going to come out like this to shield the hand. Which means that this needs to be, that needs to be, no, it should be nowhere near the thumb. That bit. So if that hand guard is like that, then that spear bit is kind of like something like this, and then that comes out. And then from there, we've got that big, thick kind of loop. Like that, somewhat. And then that would be one of those, that would be one of those. The sword starts there and then goes out. So from here, that's coming down into the hand. Let's get the back in. So that's good there, like that. Oh, that's too far. Where would that be? That would be there-ish. Then we got that there's a little golden bit at the end. Kind of goes down to something like that. Those fingers probably need to wrap a little bit more around, so let's just drag this whole little bit down. So they're wrapping more around the handle. Dragon Ball Z vibes. Well, that is really where I got started with drawing, is Dragon Ball Z characters. I used to collect the trading cards, and I would tape them to a big sheet of paper, and then I would draw them just by looking at them. I would try to copy them onto my page. That's really where I got the first idea that I wanted to do some kind of art as like a career. Now, obviously, that didn't pan out. I realized that I liked doing art, but I did not necessarily like doing art when I had to do art. I like to do art for fun. So then out of here, this comes out as a full blade. Now, I wonder if I have a reference for that specific sword. Uh, wish we could montage this. This is my folder of references. See, there's the gun I think that I referenced for Taylind's first character, or first draw. Do I have a rapier in here that I referenced? Maybe that was the gun that I referenced. Oh, was it in one of these characters' hands that I'm looking at right now? Shoot. Let's go back and see if I have an early. Let's open this up. There's nothing else in there. Do I not have the original files? Okay, good, I do. All right, so what do I got here? Ah, look at that. Okay, do I have the original picture that would have come off of so I can see the rest of it? Oh, I don't think I do. Hmm. Well, Google. Where does that blade go in the picture? I imagine that Taylind probably has some sort of a sheath. And so that is the sword sticking out of the side of the sheath. Although, that should probably come out there, shouldn't it? That should probably come out the back of his leg. See, it's little things like that that I overlooked. I'm just scouring Google right now to see if I can find the picture that I used in reference to this. Oh man. Honestly, if you go and Google rapiers, it's like there is just hundreds of like really intricate designs. I'm glad that I chose something that looks cool, but is not so impossible to draw that I couldn't replicate it. Otherwise, I'd have to change it. Not that it's really big in the picture, so you guys might not even know what his rapier looks like. Yeah, probably not gonna be able to find this. I found this. I found that original one probably years ago. I think Taylind was one of the first characters that I drew. All right, well, pictures that I'm seeing here, the rapiers are, they start out thicker at the, uh, they start out thicker up here, and then they work their way down to being thinner at the end. Now they are a straight line. So actually, I think I need to shrink all of this down just a little bit. It looks a little too big to me. So let's just bring this down a titch. Let's angle it just a little bit more to match hand pose. And keep in mind, this is the rough sketch. So from here, I'm just going to grab my line tool. I'm going to grab from this end. I'm just going to go out. And I'm going to say that his rapier is probably something like that based on the images that I'm seeing here. It's not horribly long, but it is a long blade. So that's looking good there. And we'll just leave it at that for now. That gives us a good idea of what that's going to look like. That should be, yeah, there we go. So it's going to come straight out here. This is too thick right now. I think I need to refine that just a little bit. So let's get in here. Now, I'm going to take a break in just a few minutes when we get to 10:30. It's currently 10:19. Go refill my drinks and hit the washroom. I guess we'll keep similar boots. I'm trying to think. Has anything else changed about Taylind? I don't think that anything else has. I want to add... I like all the stuff that this character has on his waist. I think I want to go that route just a little bit with Taylind because I almost want to say that we need to picture the booze on Taylind somehow. Like he needs to have a flask hanging off of his belt or something, or he needs to have, you know, shot glasses or something. So I think we're going to maybe busy up his waist area just a little bit with some more pouches, because this is nice, but let's be real. The amount that Taylind drinks, he should have more stuff hanging off of him. Like especially with how sloppy he gets when he drinks. So he should probably have a little bit more to do on his person to represent that. Not like, you know, bottles and bottles and bottles clanging off of him like he's got big, you know, moonshine jugs hanging off his waist belt, but maybe some more trinkets. You know, we've been traveling for a little while, so I think he just needs a little bit more on his person. He looks good here, but he looks a little, I don't want to say blasé, but he looks a little like he just needs a little bit more. Let's before we go, let's rough in these boots. So these boots kind of come up to his knees, give or take. So let's rough in some boots. So we're gonna go just get some circle motions going on here. Something like that, and then something, yeah, like that. I am not great at drawing circles, and I could probably hit undo after every one until I got the shape that I liked, but I find this process works better. My high school art teacher always told us that if you draw a line and you don't like it, don't erase it and then try again, because you'll just end up drawing the same line. He said, keep the line there and then draw the line that you actually want. And then once you've got the line you want, then go back and erase. Now, obviously, that only works to a point. But it's a good principle. If you keep going back and doing the exact same thing over again, leave the mistakes in there so that you know how you've done it wrong, and then you can correct from there. I'm sure there's a life lesson in there somewhere about that. And then his boots do kind of poof out just a little bit. I also don't want to lose all the definition of his leg. But they really do come down halfway down his calf. Do I like those boots, or do I want to force change the boots? Do I want to force a change on Taylind here? Because I mean, honestly, if we're keeping it the same, I keep hitting my microphone. Sorry. These things to be down like this. It doesn't look terrible. Maybe down somewhere around here. Something like that. And then from there, they would come down to you know, the boots. Which will just give a little bit of body too here. They don't need to come to a point exactly. And then his pants are just kind of, they're just kind of pants. They just kind of come out from there. Maybe too much of a gap between the legs, but also don't want to make him seem like he's some kind of massive bodybuilder with his legs here. Have I made them too big? I feel like his legs look like they're in line with each other. I think I need to push this one back a little bit. Um, let's just make it a little bit smaller. Because right now he just kind of looks a little bit strange. So let's just do that. Maybe we can even, can I, add a little bit of perspective to that. Can I do something like this? I think that looks better. Does that look better? Or does it look like he's leaning backwards now? I shouldn't have done that before I... Let's copy this. Can I angle from the knee down, maybe? Is that... Yeah, because that's the tricky part, right? Is here we can see where the knee is. You can see where the knee is, and like the light and the shadow is really what's going to give us that ability to see the definition. So maybe that's just what it is. This light, this words, this leg needs to be lighter, and this leg needs to be in shadow. That way we can see the distance of the legs, the different change. Um, Because yeah, he looked fine until I added that. Until I added the boots. Maybe this just needs to come up a little bit more flat here. I think this leg needs to be a little bit skinnier because it looks almost the same size as the other one. Maybe that's what's throwing it off. Do something like that. So let's make a copy of that. Close that one out. And then we do that. Just removing some of the underdrawing from the body. So I got a gun that I've got to add that's going to go in like that somewhere. That's a terrible reference. We need to get a way to show that leg. There's something about that leg I don't like. I wonder if I just can I just make this leg a little bit bigger maybe, or just like even just from here down. Maybe if I angle this ever so slightly and then just make it a touch bigger. So we can see that it's coming forwards off of him. That's the other option, is to turn this leg more, which will show more of a bend. I could even do this. Something like that. The right leg. This one? His right? Or our right? Let's just get a print screen of that. What does it look like here? So from a side view, where's his weight going? Maybe that's what I should have started. We're not going back to formula. It's okay. But I'm just trying to figure out here. Do I need to get him leaning? If we look at it like that. Because here's the thing. You look at this image here, and you could almost see exactly where his weight is. His weight is right down the middle here. His weight is right down through to that leg. And then this leg is probably just off to the side, but his weight is right down through here. That's the only problem with mine, is that his weight is in the middle. Oh, I don't like that as much. I think if I was to use this, so if I grab a print screen of that, let's bring this over. Oh, I could just do this. Let's paste. Let's copy that. And let's just bring this over. It's not going to be perfect because I did adjust. Oh, okay. So, just going to fiddle with this. We're going to make this change, and then we're going to go to break. So let's just come in here and let's just erase. I've got this layer saved in case I want to come back to it. Let's just erase. I know that I'm literally going against the thing that I just said my art teacher told me to do. But that's only because I have a reference to, I have something to copy over top of. So if I didn't, then I would probably leave that layer on with a lower opacity so that I could draw over top of it. All right, so then that's going to come up into here. Then we're going to get that, straighten that out just a little bit, and get that boot shape. Comes just a little bit lower. All right. I think that's already better. I need to change that boot shape, but I think that's already working better for me. I think I need to take a break. So let's go to break. I'm gonna hit the washroom, refill my drinks, clear the brain just a little bit, and then we'll come back and I'll see if I still like that after the break. So stick around. We got a little bit more drawing to do. I know it's a Monday night, so maybe some of you got to work in the morning. So stay as long as you can. But I will be right back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are back. I've made a decision. We're not going back to formula, but we are going back to the doll. Because I think that's where the root of the problem is. Here, I think it looks okay. But I think the real problem here is, yeah, where's the weight? And I'm thinking if we look back over this, because this is the pose that our reference is for. If we look at this, stop, wrong clicking, wrong clicks. Okay. I think what's happening here is he's got this hand lifted, but he's leaning on his left leg. And so his left leg is almost straight down. And his right leg, it's almost out like he's up on his toe, like he's, standing forward. So I think that's what I'm going to try to emulate here. So we're going to bring this leg in. We're going to shift the weight so that it's up. Can I just bring this down? Can't go down anymore. So let's just do this a little bit. Do this just a little bit. Oh, I'm totally messing everything up here. I'm not too concerned about this part. It's the legs that need to be adjusted. And so I think this leg needs to come way back. And it's like, it's borderline what we're seeing here, where his toe is just getting down and he's shifted his weight over to this leg. And so he's left leg is forward, hand is up, gun is down. Now from here, can we make... Do I like that though? Chest is up here. And then he's leaning on his left leg, so he's like this. This is sometimes the hardest part of this, is just getting the pose, which is why oftentimes I will find other people's character creations and I'll use their pose, because the pose is the whole thing. If you get the pose wrong, you might as well just go home. Which is why we'd struggled so much with Flicks originally, because he wanted to have the shield out here, but it just covered so much of him. I didn't like, I drew it like that. I got almost to the point of doing line art, and I stopped and I said, I don't like the way that this looks. There's something about the pose that just, there's not enough of Flick. And so we opted for more of same pose, but from the side instead of from dead on. Here, I like this pose. I like the pose that Devin's given us the reference drawing here, but I'm trying to recreate it. It's proving a little bit tougher than expected. You think the sketch looks better than the new posing I did? I would agree with you. I don't like this because that to me doesn't sell. It doesn't sell it the same. Why, if I just wish that was extended, because then honestly, I would just kind of somewhat trace the reference image for the posing at least. That's where I'd go in with the wireframe, and then I would draw on top of that. So what's going to balance this out so that it looks better? Now, can I undo what I've done here? I think I can. Undo the last change. Well, that's as far back as I can go. So now I've ruined it. So our previous pose was something like this. Now I can bring this leg back up, turn it back out. See, and this is where lighting really does. You bring his legs in closer together so it's less of a squat. I can. Yeah, so let's bring his legs in. How does that look? If we go to this, so there's. I can straighten him out as well. Something like that. Because now he's on both legs. Now there's that forward motion I think we get here where that arm is up but forwards. Now, if we do this, question is, do I have to start over? I think there's enough here that I could modify the image that we already have. I'm just realizing that you guys can't see the whole thing on your screen. There's the whole pose there. Maybe we need to rotate this out just a little bit. Okay. Let's work with this, see how much we have to change. We'll just line up the heads because that's probably the easiest way to do it. Oh, to the drawing, not to that. Okay. All right, let's work with this. So I got to bring these legs in, point them more forwards. This one, that one can almost, you could almost do this with it. Let's just do that. Let's use what we can. that a bit. Duplicate that layer real quick. All right, let's get back to work. So, how was everybody's break? Let's just scrap that leg altogether. We'll do another one. And we do have the opportunity here as well to maybe give a bit more of a kink in that arm. We might take advantage of that. Alrighty, so let's get some legs drawn in here. And we know that he's got his pant fly right there. And again, his boots are very tall, so these go in here. Have a good night, Devin. Thanks for checking in. Hopefully, what you're seeing so far is a good representation of Taylind. Have a good one, buddy. Okay, so the boots are going to come away from the body or the leg just a little bit, not too much. Because they hugged his leg pretty good before, and then they came out at this big part. So I should keep to that. I wonder if maybe I need to bring this in just a smidge and do something closer hugging the actual leg instead of going out so far. Maybe that's part of the reason why it looks a little bit strange. So let's do something like that. Maybe they don't need to be quite as pointy and long. What do we have before? Yeah, we had kind of more of a sloped boot there. Trying to imagine where the crinkles in the leather would be. The ankles would pop out. I think that's looking better. Again, one of the ways that we sell which leg is in front is with shadow. So this leg is in behind, so this leg will be darker than this leg. And the light hitting here, and maybe just a little bit up here, will demonstrate just how far back that leg is to the other one. I wonder if maybe this leg could come out this way just a hair. I'm going to leave that for now. Face is always hard. How much of it do you detail out before you go in? Because so much of what makes our faces is just little things. So if I just duplicate that, and I'll lift this one up so that it better matches the shape of the head here. Now if I come into here, nose is going to be around this area. Mouth is right in here. And the eyeballs are somewhere in there. Eyebrows. And then ears. Very rough. Just giving us an idea. And then Taylind's got his hair. Give him a pretty liberal hairline there. So he's hair like this. Comes up. And I think I might try to go with a style similar to this. Obviously, it's not going to have the headband because Taylind doesn't wear a headband. But maybe he's doing this motion. He's got hair that's kind of because he's got long hair. Like you see the strands on here. It didn't really come through, but like that's all hair back there. That's hair down there. So he's got this long hair that flows down his face. He's kind of got some strands, that come out in front. But otherwise, it's like his hair goes straight back. Give him like a messy kind of. And this is going to look like the worst part of the whole drawing until I actually draw it. Hair is kind of tough to rough in. I always struggle with like, how do I want to draw the hair? Usually opt for something more realistic than something like this. Just because, I don't know, this is more fun. I like it to look a little bit more realistic. So it kind of comes out here, out the middle. And then the way that I had it before, it kind of swept down to the side of his head, didn't it? Kind of covered his ear. So maybe we need to do a little bit of that too here. Covers up his ear. But then, he's got that long wild braid, and so it's kind of flinging out every which way down here, and even a little bit on this side too. Like it's really getting kind of wild because he's make sure that his ears don't look like they're poking out too much. All right. There's not a lot going on in his legs, but I suppose there's not a lot that went on in his legs originally. It was just kind of some dark leather or some dark, kind of fabric pants. But let's give them a little bit more definition so they don't feel quite so out of place. Right now I feel like they just look like he's got these skinny little legs. Give him a little bit of definition, some darker lines, and maybe that'll help kind of flesh out what his lower half is going to be looking like. He does have pockets on these pants, so let's give him Big old pocket right here. It's going to kind of jut out. Pocket there. And I suppose, as any adventurer would, he's got to have a backpack, right? Where's he keeping all of his stuff? So maybe we need to picture. Maybe we need to depict his backpack in here today. Fabric folds and stuff has never been my strong suit. You know, um, as Craig alluded to earlier, it kind of felt like a Dragon Ball Z painting or coloring or drawing earlier. And like I said, that's how I got my start. So to me, you draw pants and they should be hard lines like this, and then it should be streaks. So I never really learned uh, how to do proper like fabric stuff. I guess if that leg's up in front, then there would be a bit of a pinch here on this leg. Coming from the leg that's forward. I think his waist needs to be bigger. What if we just thicken this up a little bit? Let's make a copy here. Because right now he looks a little thin-waisted. I know that guys typically are big shoulders, working down to a thin waist. But how I drew Taylind originally, he's very straight lines, straight down. I think I need to get that back. Let's make some small changes here. We're just going to widen this out a little bit. I think that's going to help to kind of make him feel a little bit more like him. I'll center this out. So then from here, now we just got to modify this a little bit. And we're just going to bring that down. Hmm. Oh, we had a bot. Hello, bot. Goodbye, bot. Tons of little folds in this. It's a poofy pirate shirt. All right, so start working a little bit on the pistol here. So the way that we had it before, it was kind of had this hooked handle grip here, and I think we're going to go with something similar. I kind of come down here and come out to a point, and then, well, not a point, but like a dull point. And it's going to come up. We're going to have our hand guard there, and our trigger is going to be in there. But the handle is going to be, I think, just a little bit thicker like that. So now the hand's covering it. The fingers need to be a little bit longer here. Hold on, something like that. Your grip, I need a gun. What would it look like to hold something like that in your hand? I don't have anything in here that I could hold like that. What do I got? What do I got? That's a good point there. So this finger would be further, that one less, and that one even less. Even though that's the big finger, because you'd have to hold it at an angle. Yeah. Alrighty, so this is what Taylind's gun looked like before. We have the opportunity here to make a real magical. Putty says, "Geez, Mike, get a gun. What are you, Canadian?" Yeah. Um. So making a magical gun here. I feel like this needs to be taller. Like it should come up more. Yeah, there we go. And then point it down. Something like that. So it's a musket style, like an old pirate gun. And we want it to be, I think flintlock makes the most sense. So that's where you get the mechanism on the side. That's kind of like this, and then you cock it back, and then it jumps forward, and like it hits the flint against some metal, and that's what sends the charge down, or the flame down into the little compartment down here, which is sitting right behind the ball. And then it goes boom, and the ball goes out. So we're gonna have some kind of like ornate hammer thing back here that's gonna do a whole bunch of stuff. It's gonna pivot on a spot like that. Gonna be like that. I think because it's magical, it should probably have some fancy, maybe some plating on it or something to make it look magical. So I mean, this should definitely be maybe like a big mechanism. Like maybe it's a big plate that kind of wraps around, and it's got like arcane script on it or something, and it kind of wraps around. And let's see, that's gonna come down. It's gonna be a big rock, big piece of flint in there. It's kind of like wedge shaped like that, so that when it comes down and it strikes, it's gonna come down and strike some kind of a flash. I think it's called a flash pan. That's going to go into a little hole that then feeds into the bullet. So maybe this as well. Maybe like wraps forward around the gun. So got our arcane script going on up here. There's going to be this flash pan thing right here. There's the flint. We attach to this big honking thing. And it doesn't have to look like it would actually function. It's a fantasy weapon after all. Just looks however we want it to look in a way that looks kind of cool. So this would be the thing that he would put his thumb on and pull it back to lock the flint up, and then he pulls the trigger. That's what would jump it forwards. Ooh, dwarven inspiration. Okay. I like to think that the dwarves have taken a simple flintlock pistol and just over-engineered the crap out of it. So this thing's got like metal plating all over. It's probably even got like finger grooves in here, so it's got a nice grip. But like they've over-engineered it, and this thing is super robust. That when you fire it, there's no way it's going to come apart. So he's got a big old finger there on the trigger. Even though gun safety, you don't put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to fire. But this is also Taylind we're talking about, so he's probably always got his hand on the trigger if it's in his hand. All right, so big old piece of flint, flash pan. That's just going to be like great metal there. Probably some kind of like arcane scripts on that as well. It's the fun thing about creating fantasy weapons is it really, what do you want it to look like? Just make that. Alrighty. So that's a thumb grip. You pull it back. That would lift this up. And then you pull the trigger and it would come down. It would strike here, send a spark down, and fire that down. Now, it's going to go, the bullet's going to come out a metal barrel. So we're going to get a metal barrel out here. And maybe this one's even got like a post sight at the end of it. Again, this is an over-engineered dwarven thing. So it's probably got some kind of sights on it. Not like red dot sights, but just a little post at the end to aim at what you're aiming at. And then usually there would be, like in Taylon's original, it's just kind of wrapped in wood. But again, this is an over-engineered dwarven pistol. So the end of it's probably wrapped in some kind of like stamped brass or maybe even gold. Maybe not gold, because gold might be too valuable. This is a weapon of war. It's not some fancy thing that a drug cartel has. Maybe it's like a stamped brass, and it's got arcane script dancing up all the way down. I think that, you know what, they've probably got some extra supports here to hold the iron barrel in place when it fires. Got to be reinforced there so that stuff doesn't come free. I guess that flash pan's got to be part of something, so let's just make it part of the wrap around the barrel as well. Maybe too long. What do you guys think? That's probably too long, isn't it? It's too thin too. I think it needs to be a little bit bulkier. It's not too long. Okay. All right. Well, then let's just bulk it up a little bit here. Let's just make this top part a little bit higher. Just do this. We're just going to do a little bit of that action. You know what? We got this shape right here. Why don't we just extend that down? Maybe it wraps all the way around the hands and it's like a borderline, a brass knuckle. Something like that. Just a little thin metal that protects the hands. Yeah, something like that. You could even attach down into here and be part of a little butt plate on the pistol itself. Little rivet there to hold it in. So if it's stamped plate on top of wood, you got the rings there that kind of hold everything down. Give them little connecting points right there. Maybe there is some kind of like a grip section out here. So the underbelly is still wood. That can be like a grainy wood down there. But then the metal plating kind of wraps around and comes up there. So if he really wanted to, he could like, I know it's a musket pistol, but maybe there's something like that. Now, Craig, remind me, does Taylind choose what type of shot comes out of this? Or does he roll a dice and that determines what type of shot comes out of this? Or am I thinking of the wrong gun entirely? I was under the impression, I feel like this pistol has the ability to shoot different types of energy or magical energy. Um, I can't recall because I'm trying to remember our fight with the Rock. What did he do with this gun? Does he just shoot it, or is there a magical effect? Okay, Craig's checking. While Craig is checking that, I'll say that maybe part of the reason why I'm struggling with pose tonight is that usually while I'm doing this, while I'm drawing, I will have music on in the background. I got this playlist. Here we go. It functions three ways. You can use it as a normal gun, a spell focus, or the chaos pistol, which would be a random D6 elemental damage type. Okay. So he has the choice of whether or not it's got this weird magical effect on it. Sorry, not weird, a random magical effect on it. Or he can use it as a gun or a spell focus. Interesting. Okay. That's good to know. I was going to say if it was something that he's selected, maybe I put something on here that he has to touch to select what shoots out, but no. We do have options with this gun. It's neat. But it should certainly be something that looks ornate and fancy because it is a magical gun. So we have to know that it's magical based on its appearance. Otherwise, Taylind wouldn't have bothered to pick it up. Taylind is not interested in things that are not fancy. You have to be real fancy schmancy. Otherwise, there is a lack of interest. All right. So that's going to end up kind of bulbing out there. What time is it? It's 11:22. I don't want to be on too much longer because I also recognize that people probably need to go. I was really hoping to get to Willie tonight because Willie is a very interesting character, especially based on the description that I received from Devin earlier today about what Willie looks like. Now, I know that we've had an image on the stream, like a little character token, but I believe that is just of a bird, whereas Willie has a very interesting characteristics. I'm just going to read those out for you guys because I do find it quite interesting, and eventually you will get to see it. But just to tease it a little bit, I asked Devin about it. Where do we got here? So he's Willie Redtail, and I looked up redtail birds, and there's a hawk that's called redtail. But this is what Devin says. Willie does not resemble a regular parrot. He appears to have the traits from different birds, like a toucan's beak, canary legs, and a rooster's crest. So I was looking forward to maybe putting those three things together on the stream tonight, but I don't know that I'm going to have time because I really want to get Taylind in a position where I could come back and do more work on him once we're done this stream, like at another date. But Willie Redtail is going to be an interesting little bird to try to imagine up. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think you guys should be looking forward to seeing what Willie Redtail is going to be exactly. Because that was not the description that I was anticipating. I was expecting him to be more of a standard, bird that we've all seen before. Yeah, you know what? I want to angle this foot out because this foot looks a little bit odd to me. Like it's angled in for some reason. So let's just do a little bit of that. I think that already looks better. I think that looks better. Maybe I just need to thicken it up here just a little bit on this outside edge, especially at the ankle. Let's just bring this down. That's good there. Why don't we spend a few minutes and try to imagine up what little trinkets would be hanging from Taylind's belt. So I think we need to add some more belts, first of all. Some like little trinket carrying things. So maybe we need to do something that's just over this pant here. Maybe it just comes and hangs right over top of there. So let's get a little funky here. So we're gonna add a belt that kind of comes beneath the buckle and just above that, kind of pinches down into there. So the buckle comes over top of it. It's gonna sit just beneath there. And it's gonna kind of come up and right up underneath there. So this is now going to be our new belt. Oh, there we go. And from this belt, I do believe that we need to have some form, yeah, some form of flask. Um, so let's see. Let's take a look at some pirate flasks. Show me, Google. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's what we need to have. Big round thing with like a cork stopper. So maybe that needs to actually dangle down in front of him so that we can see it perhaps a little bit more clearly. So he's got that belt. I think though maybe we need to have something kind of hooked on the belt perhaps. And it should be on the it could be on his hip, I suppose. Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? So something like you see the pouch here. We could do that. We also got like a coin purse here hanging off of this belt. See, that's what's fun about these kinds of things. You can just like interweave them and lace them over top of each other. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of. Okay, so if that's the belt there, that's the leather vest. His flask is going to be on his hip. Maybe one of these circle dealies. Now I'm tempted to put this in front of him because what I'm seeing here of like old pirate flasks is that they've got symbols on the front of them. But I wouldn't know what symbol to put there. So maybe I should just play it a little bit safe and we'll just kind of throw out something like this. How is it attaching to the belt? Maybe it's got like, maybe he's got a flask holster. Obviously. He's got to have a flask holster. So most gunslingers would have a gun holster. Taylind has a flask holster. So a piece of leather that comes out, attaches to this belt, so we'll make it the same color. And then from there, we can see this little kind of circular shaped thing. We can angle it out just a little bit here. Put a piece of cork in it. Yeah. I think one of the things that we should maybe do is he's always adding the sea salt into his briny blade, or I think he's got a briny shot as well. So maybe Taylind does that by like little potion things filled with seawater. Imagine like he's loading the musket ball and he pours one of those down there, loads the ball, and casts a little spell and then fires it out. Or maybe he's got one of those little flask things and he pours it on the blade and then he's got his briny blade. And so maybe he needs to have some kind of a sash that comes separate from the one over the pauldron. Maybe he's got something that comes down across his body here and wraps around just at the waist. So what if we were to do let's make another copy here. I make too many copies. I don't know where to go back to. But why don't we do something like this where it's coming down in front of the chest, and then maybe that's what this little bump out is here. Is that's the sash that he's got that's got the briny liquids in it. So that's coming out over there. Maybe this line is that as well. And so it comes down like this. I know that we're covering up details that we've drawn in by doing this, but that's okay. Something like this. I've done this before there was a rogue character that I drew for a friend who had a sash kind of across the front of her chest that would keep the like little vials of acid or whatever. So maybe from here, Taylor's got some pouches that can hold flasks of salt water. Like the sashes that like military guys will have with the bullets in it. That's what Taylor's got, except instead of bullets, he's got little flasks of briny salt water. I'm gonna change the size of my brush here. And these can have little stoppers in them as well. Yeah, I think that's fun. More details means more coloring, but more details makes it more interesting. I think it's easier to portray what you're trying to portray when you've got more details to pull from. I think the other thing that we need to make sure that Taylind has is a shot pouch. Because originally, well, actually no, originally would have had a pistol. Excuse me, originally would have had a pistol. But he also needs a shot pouch. So something like this, where he can keep his musket balls. Assuming that he shoots actual musket balls. I mean that could be. I suppose that could be like a gunpowder pouch over there. But we could easily do just a quick little leather pouch here. That's maybe. How would that be linked in? Yeah, I guess just kind of like a loop of the belt. We'll just do this. Looks like a chicken bone. I also don't like the placement of it. Let's find somewhere else to put that. Don't really enjoy that. More. All right. Oh yeah, his scarf. Um, Maybe he's got that tucked into his chain shirt. No, that would be kind of dumb. That would just be poofy. Let's do this. So I'll do that down there. Be around his neck there. And come around from his neck over here. Right down to the chain shirt. Let's see. I don't know if I like that. Okay, so we got to come up with a solution for the scarf that he has. That's as far as I've got here. The scarf is there to help with the chafing. It's an interesting idea. That's where we realize that this is the dicky. The scarf is really the dicky. I'm gonna come back to that. Don't know what I want to do with that. I might just take it out entirely. Sword's essentially good to go. I think the angle on that is a little bit off. Let's just line it up with the handle that he's holding in his hand. I think that angle there makes more sense, but that handle guard is perhaps in the wrong place. Will need to be adjusted there. Other thoughts, chat? What could we what else could we hang from his belt? He doesn't really carry daggers. I suppose we could give him some pouches. You know what? Maybe he's got a little pouch right here. Oh, we'll just give him a little triangular pouch right there. Got that. Oh, the belt buckle notches. That's a good point. Also, where does his belt buckle go? I didn't really draw that before. It's almost like he just has a leather hoop around him with this kind of brass colored thing that sticks in. So yeah, maybe we need to figure out where does the belt go after it notches in? Does the tail go out that way? Or does the tail go out that way? Or is the buckle on the end of the leather and then the dangly bit goes in behind it and then it notches in. So the dangly bit would be underneath the belt. I think that probably makes the most sense, but we still need some belt loops. And you know, these should probably be some pretty big belt loops because I imagine there's like a big post underneath here. So let's do something like that and that, and maybe we can just see the end of one right here. Okay, not bad, not bad. I wonder, maybe Taylind has hooked some things onto his belt as well. So maybe he's got some like something dangling from here. What could Taylind be carrying on his belt? That would make sense here. I think that pouch looks out of place. Just need to move it. Maybe so that it's not being covered by the big belt. Just somewhere like there, and then maybe just make it a little bit bigger. Let's go right there. That's looking better there. This doesn't need to be so hard an edge. So we can imagine that this sash maybe attaches to a small pack on his back, which we're not going to be able to see from here. I feel like I want to see something coming out of his hip right here. 11:42. Just going to go a few more minutes and then I think we'll call it a night. Well, that everybody else has probably got to work in the morning. Tuesdays are my day off until the evening. So I got that lucky, but hmm. I suppose he would need somewhere to keep the gun. Do we come up with some kind of like a leg holster sticking out the side? Maybe there's something that straps in here. Pinches down on the clothing a little bit. Comes right out to here. And then like a big honking holster coming out the side. I could get some stitching going along the edges here. Maybe there's even some arcane script kind of etched into the leather there. And he's got that holster there. That's not bad. That's not bad. So now we've got somewhere for the gun to go. Does that maybe need to be lower? Lower on his leg. Is that too high? It's probably too high. That would be, yeah, I think that's too high. So let's lower this just a little bit. We'll lower this, and then maybe we'll call it quits for the night. So let's bring this down just a touch. There looks better to me. Well, thank you, Trillium. I appreciate that compliment. This looks so flaming cool, you say. I don't love it yet, but I often don't love my sketches until I've got some color in there. Um, yeah, I think the color is really going to make this shine because right now I'm just seeing the whites, whereas Tayland wears a lot of darker clothing. And I think once we get that dark color in there, then it's going to change just how this all comes together. And I think then it's going to look real good. Got to figure out what we're doing with that scarf. I also got to, do the whole face and figure out what exactly is happening with his hair. I think I got to modify the vest just a little bit so that it's maybe a little bit more visible. I don't know. I like the pistol. I like some of the extra details that we've got going on around his belt now. I think that looks good. Um, yeah, that's good. All right, I'll call it there before we get to midnight, because why not? No sense, no sense going all the way to midnight when we don't have to. But for everybody that tuned in, thank you so much for checking us out. If you're watching this in VOD, cool. Thanks for watching it there as well. We stream Monday nights, usually 8 p.m. Well, always 8 p.m. until 11 o'clock. We play our D&D game. For the month of July, we're going to be doing something a little bit different each week. Not our regular Sea of Souls campaign, but something different like tonight, where we got to take a look at the behind the scenes of me starting to redraw Taylind, just so we can get a fresh look, update some of the things that he's got that have changed since episode 1, which the image on the right reflects is more close to a session 1. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you doing this. Feel free to follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube. We also do stream audio versions of the Sea of Souls campaign. This won't be an audio podcast because there won't be anything to listen to. But we do stream, sorry, not stream. We do upload to Podbean, to Spotify, to a whole bunch of places where you can get podcasts. So if you like to listen to podcast versions, just the audio version, check us out there. Elder Brain Cast is what you're looking for. You can also just check out at the top of the screen there, right under where it says Let's Draw Taylind. You see that we've got a link tree. It's linktr.ee/elderbrain. I believe it's just Elderbrain. If not, it's Elderbrain Cast. I should probably know that. Yeah. Anyways, thank you for watching. It was great having you here. Hopefully you enjoyed hanging out with me, and I appreciate chat for all of your suggestions for what we do with Taylind. And I look forward to seeing what this guy's going to look like in the end, which hopefully I'll be done in about a week or two if I get some time. So thanks for hanging out with me. Hope you're having a good time, and we'll see you next time.